schooling year-round was not a choice for us. I mean, we were just so happy in the summertime to know we weren't going to jail.
Right.
Because everybody else was out of school, too. So we could play all day long without the police car riding by our house to make sure we were homeschooling. So the summer was just glorious, and we couldn't have done it any other way back in the day.
We should open this episode with that we were just happy to have Otter Pops and not be in prison. You heard her, ladies and gentlemen. She said, we'll do it live. Let's just do it. Welcome to the Zan Tyler podcast. Before you click away, yes, I'm Caleb. I'm helping out, working with Zan, but Zan is still here. Zan, say hello.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to have my producer, Caleb, with us. It always adds a lot of fun.
Little different variety show kind of thing here. Well, before we move on, you know what to do. You've heard this before, but please, it really makes a difference. Please subscribe. Whatever platform you're on, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Pocket Cast, Amazon. We're on all of them. YouTube. Please subscribe. It just makes it easier for Zan, makes it easier for people to find this show. And if you have an idea or thought, leave a comment anywhere you're at. You can leave a 5-star review on Apple. As people say, if you can't say something nice, don't say something at all. So if you can't leave a 5-star review, just move on. We don't care. That's fine. No, but leave those reviews. Please leave comments. Zan reads these comments. We look through all of them. If you have questions, you can send those in on zantyler.com. And Zan, it's summertime, so we're going to dive right in. I got some clips, and this awesome homeschool mom has some tips and tricks. So here we go.
The way we make sure we get to the fun things and the responsibilities that we need to get to for the summer is a summer checklist. Breaking down our summer days and adding some structure and making time for it all. So our morning is for chores and prepping for the day, getting our devotionals out of the way, followed by going out and exploring and having our family adventures. Followed by the afternoon, which we have lunch. They ask how they can help. We have time with siblings. They read for 30 minutes, and then we do a creative activity.
Is that still in there?
In the evening / mid-afternoon, when it's nice and hot, that is when we get our summer school checklist done, followed by evening chores and then evening hangouts. They tidy up their room and they get ready for bed. Drop in the comments if you want any more information about any part of the schedule, and I'll make sure to make another reel on it.
Fantastic. Great ideas, but Zan, it does contrast greatly with this other homeschool mom who just put a thing that said, homeschool moms, when summer mentality starts kicking in, feels like this.
I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. I haven't eaten in probably 2 days. I'm just trying to sort of push through, do my work.
So those are two completely different,
And
very different perspectives on how to handle the summer.
Any given day, a homeschool mom may experience both of those extremes. Because I will tell you, that first mama, she had it going on.
Oh, my gosh.
They got their devotions done. They had family adventures. They helped with the chores. I loved when she said, my children are going to ask, how can they help us?
Yeah, it was smart.
You know, it was great. It was great. I'm not sure I ever had a summer day that was that well executed. So I am really impressed. But we can all take, if you can't handle what she does on a daily basis in the summertime, choose one of those things.
Right,
do your
yeah.
devotions in the morning, or, have a family adventure. So I thought it was great, but
I feel both. Like, I like what you said, because you're like, on any given day, I can feel both of these.
That's right.
And it's okay. Someone wise once told me, like, you can't bail on a plan if you didn't have a plan to bail on in the first place.
That's true. That's true.
It's almost important to, like, have some sort of plan or some sort of loose schedule, even if the schedule is nothing. Does that make sense? Even if it's like, hey, we have this day set aside to do not, like, it's okay that, like, that's what this day is for. And then, Wednesday or Tuesday, we homeschool year round, but that's because our oldest is only 8. So we got 7 and 8, and they're dialed, right? Like, they could do school. I don't like that phrase. They could do academics for pretty long periods of time, but we're balancing that with a 4-year-old and 2 3-year-olds. So we have days throughout the year that maybe only a little bit of reading got done and some math. So for us, it's worked to just kind of do school year round because we're kind of compensating all the time.
That's right. And it takes the pressure off the school year to feel like you've got to have everything done by May 31st.
Amen.
So it gives you a lot of wiggle room.
Exactly.
And
And
I think
BJU Press makes that really easy because it's BJU Press Homeschool because the curriculum we use, here's the what do you call it? Like unit study. Like here is the science, the English, the world history or US history. And if you could finish it by May if you started in September or not. It might be September to September.
That's right.
And that's great. Like at least you have something to cling on to. So, but I also totally empathized with the I don't know what day it is. Here it is. What did you say earlier? You said like, say it again. What'd you say? You're like, most days I was just, what did you say?
Oh yeah. Schooling year round was not a choice for us. I mean, we were just so happy in the summertime to know we weren't going to jail
Right.
because everybody else was out of school too. So we could play all day long without the police car riding by our house to make sure we were homeschooling. So the summer was just glorious. And we couldn't have done it any other way back in the day.
We should open this episode with that we were just happy to have Otter Pops and not be in prison. Did you ever do Otter Pops for the kids? You know those frozen, you know what I'm talking about? It's like you ever seen an Otter? Okay, well hang on, we're still recording. I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Your kids never had Otter Pops?
Well, we probably call them something different.
Okay, these things. I'm gonna share this page with you right now. Otter Pops. Don't edit this out, whoever's editing on this one. This is important.
How are you spelling that?
Otter, like otter, like otter.
Well, yeah, we had those kinds of things, but we didn't call them Otter Pops.
Oh, what did you guys call them?
I don't know. We just called them, go get your popsicle out of the freezer.
These things right here. My God. Oh,
Yes. But we Otter Pop. Yeah, we just called
these
them.
things.
Yes, we just called them popsicles.
Yeah, they're so cheap. Like, cause all that's in it is like red dye 5 and water.
That's right.
Like there's nothing else in them. And like you cut off the tips and then you just spend the summer cutting the slice on either side of your mouth because those plastic things were just like razors. That was my summer.
That was your summer growing up.
Oh yeah. I mean, when the lady was like, yeah, here's what we're doing. It's like, look, we got a Costco load of Otter Pops. That's summer. Okay. Here's the freezer. You know where they are. But speaking of jail, as you mentioned, as always, we got some stuff going on in the news. So let me pull this up. And we have some interesting situations happening in New Jersey.
We do.
We've been covering Illinois. What other states have been?
There have been problems in Illinois. There have been some
Colorado?
problems in Minnesota. Yes, Colorado, not with the homeschooling law so much as other things going on
More,
in Colorado.
Family parenthood.
And then Virginia. So there have been all kinds of issues in the legislature this year. What I didn't know is there's still legislators moving right on, and there's a new bill in New Jersey.
Tell us the story because this is like a movie. Like,
yes.
Tell us what was introduced, what it was trying, and then just take us on the journey, Zan. It was Bill 1796 is how this started. Take it away.
and it was evidently the folks I talked to, Roe, and the other folks we talked to in New Jersey, said that this bill is introduced every year and it's never gone anywhere.
Interesting.
But it's so, and I can't remember for how many years. It obviously hadn't been since the beginning of time, but for several years. And so this year it was actually rescinded. They had tons of people show up at their state house, at their state capitol. And so this bill really didn't see the light of day. What we didn't know is that there was another bill in the works started on June 5th. And I guess I should go back and just say a little bit about the bill was asking for a major oversight. What does it say? Oversight and transparency.
Yeah, it says, real brief, 1796, introduced by a Democrat, which would require families to, here's the big part, notification. That's kind of the thing. So notify their local school district in writing, but it's got to include your child's name, date of birth, grade level, and the name of the instructor. Also mandates that school districts publish aggregate data about the number and grade levels of homeschooled children on their websites. However, the bill lacks privacy protection for families and does not define, quote, homeschool in state law. And the good news, Zan, I guess, I mean, your folks, our folks, I mean,
Yep,
they showed
they
up.
showed up, and that bill was rescinded.
I think there's you've said this before, Zan, right? But that's a big deal. Like, you've said it over and over. We have to show up.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it makes a difference. We're in a republic. We're not in a monarchy, a diarchy, which I don't know if that's the right word. A dynasty. We're not in a dynasty. We're not a monarchy. We're not an oligarchy. Like, this is supposed to be a republic, which means
Right.
we have the right to show up at any of these things where decisions are being made and make our voices heard. Voting is just one part of that. HSLDA shows up, Homeschool Legal Defense Association, obviously tons of homeschool parents, your friends Roe and their organization. But in the same day, tell us what happened.
Okay, so in the same day, unbeknownst to us or unbeknownst to, wait a minute. It's HSNJ, Homeschool, New Jersey. They found out today that a new bill has been introduced. It was introduced the same day the other bill was pulled, but they just heard about it today. And
Wild.
so this is a crazy one. If you can pull up the wording for this, a child in a home education program and the child's parent or guardian shall meet annually with a person from the resident school district who has been designated by the superintendent of the school district. So now you've got to have a personal meeting, every homeschool parent. The designated person shall be a school counselor, school nurse, or a school social worker employed by the school district. Now, listen to this. The purpose of the meeting shall be for the parent or guardian to have an opportunity to request support from the school district from the home education program. Homeschoolers, let me tell you, if you want educational support, do not go to the local school district. Call your state organization. Find a support group. Go to HSLDA. You find homeschool groups, and really the state organization is the best. In New Jersey, it happens to be HSNJ, Homeschool New Jersey. They're just getting their website up and completed. But don't go to the school district for your educational advice. Go to other homeschoolers, because homeschooling is a different type of education altogether. Very effective, but has a different structure. So you can get support from the school district, which you know not to do, and for the person designated by the superintendent to conduct a general health and wellness check of the child. It does not say what kind of wellness check. Can they touch your child? Can you be in it? This is invasive and egregious, and every homeschooler in New Jersey needs to start letting their legislator and senator know. They need to start emailing. I have an email address for you if you want to call to action and know what other New Jersey homeschoolers are doing. Email hsnjboard@gmail.com. So it stands for SHNJboard@gmail.com. You'll get your call to action. You guys need to be aware of this. You need to fight it. You need to come together and stand against this very egregious, invasive homeschool bill.
It's interesting. As you were saying things, I was listening. I was like, well, it's also prejudice by the definition of prejudice, and not racist, prejudiced. It's prejudice towards homeschool families, because basically it's saying, because you home educate, we're going to introduce this bill that we get to pick, not you, which shouldn't anyways. We get to pick an individual to come into your house and make a judgment call on health and wellness, which obviously does not happen if you go to our school.
Right. Now, it doesn't say exactly where this will take place. It could take place in the school district office. The way I'm reading it, I could be wrong. We can check on that. But
That is true.
But
Yeah,
the fact is, they're assuming your guilt instead of your innocence. Your child has to be checked to make sure they have not been abused and that you have kept them healthy before you can homeschool. That is awful. That's a presumption of guilt. And we talked about it it a couple of weeks ago, Caleb. I don't have the information in front of me about the whole jurisprudence of Western civilization. It was a Supreme Court decision. You know, rest on the fact that just because one parent has abused their children, the rest of the parents will. I mean, we have parental freedom in this country. All of us who homeschool are against truancy. We are against child abuse. We don't want to have any of this happening. But this is government overreach. This is total government overreach.
To push back, Zan, can you tell someone who maybe is new to homeschooling, which, like we've covered before, a few years ago, 2.5% of the school population. Now they're pushing 10 to 13% of the school population in 4 years, which is insane. So we have a lot of new homeschool families. Can you kind of educate us on, because the way this bill is worded is very interesting. It makes it sound like, well, we just want to make sure these kids are safe, right?
Yes.
Can you kind of educate us a little bit on why it is actually not that and what is the problem here?
Okay, the problem is we have parental rights and we have freedom in this country. And we should be able to choose to homeschool our child with the presumption of innocence. We have not. I mean, are they going to check every parent in the public schools before they start to make sure their child has not been abused? Or is the teacher going to observe those children every day to make sure they haven't been abused? It's just totally outside the realm of the norms of our Western civilization to assume that parents are going to abuse their children.
And we also have a very unique legal system. It's covered in Kirk's movie Monumental, but it's also covered in a lot of other places that people forget. When we say, hey, you're innocent until proven guilty, that was a mind-blowingly radical idea that our country did. Every country ever, first off, it could just be a king who says, I don't like you, Zan, off with their head. So it was this whole new idea of like, you're based on an accusation. First off, there has to be an accusation, which is interesting, right? Because this whole bill, there's no accusation.
That's
so
right.
This is already outside of the way the American legal system and law is supposed to work. Law enforcement is are you accused of a crime? Okay, now you've been accused, but you start innocent, which means the accusing party has to have the evidence to bring up.
That's right. The burden of proof.
The burden of proof. So this basically is trying to do that in reverse, saying, okay, just because you homeschool or home educate, and you made a good point, it could be at the school office, could be whatever. We're basically preemptively making sure your child is safe according to our measures, according to what we see, according to how we want to write that, which is completely contradictory to you were innocent until proven guilty.
That's right.
So,
and
so it goes against basically the fundamental of American law.
That's right. That's exactly right. So you new homeschoolers in New Jersey need to band together and get rid of this bill. Homeschoolers are doing great. Our test scores are great. Our children are socialized. Their college admissions people are trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Are recruiting them. Thank you. College. It was a long night last night. I was up all night writing. College admissions personnel are recruiting our homeschoolers. The military is actively recruiting homeschoolers. The Kiplinger report said several years ago, employers, are you worried about employing homeschooled students? Don't be. They're the most self-motivated kids you'll see out there. And so we are doing well at home with the education our kids are getting, and they are doing well when they go into the community, when they leave our homes. We are in no way, shape, or form in favor of child abuse. We are against any type of bill that is this prejudicial against us. This podcast is brought to you by BJU Press Homeschool. Homeschooling is an exciting adventure we take with our children. One of the most challenging parts of this journey is choosing the curriculum you want to use. BJU Press Homeschool is a curriculum you can trust. All the books, resources, and videos have been designed with you and your child in mind. Their curriculum is educationally robust and rich, taking into account that children have different learning styles, strengths, and needs. Mom, you are in charge. BJU Press Homeschool is here to come alongside and support you. Do you need help with the teaching load, or is there a subject you just don't want to teach? Their amazing video courses are available for all grades and almost every subject. BJU Press Homeschool believes that homeschooling can produce a new generation of students who know God, love their neighbors, and stand firm in their faith. For more information, go to bjupresshomeschool.com. That's bjupresshomeschool.com.
These 26 states, parents simply have to file a notice once a year with officials to let them know that they are homeschooling their child. In these 13, they only have to file a notice once with no requirement to check in ever again. And in the remaining 11, they don't have to notify anyone at all.
Oh, dear God. Can you imagine the horror? You mean to tell me there are potentially millions of parents out there who are, talking to their kids and teaching them and guiding them and telling them things without providing the state and John Oliver with a full written account of everything they're saying? I mean, it's almost like these families believe they should have privacy and self-determination and freedom. How presumptuous of them. How dare they? You can't just go teaching stuff to your own children.
Gosh, I love that clip. My favorite part was like, you have to tell the government and John Oliver, who's...
Yeah, this is just it's just great on the heels of that bill from New Jersey, What the rest of the world doesn't understand is how effective homeschooling is. That's not even the point. Parents should have the parental right to teach their children at home.
Yeah, I love this top comment. Okay, so teachers don't have to provide parents that their kids are failing mentally ill or feeling sick in their classroom, but we should notify the government what we're doing in our homes. Okay, got it. And then this person just says, that's why I moved out of a state that required crazy homeschool regulations. From the past episodes, Zan, I'm assuming that's probably states like New York. Actually, a lot of the East Coast, Delaware, I think is pretty tough. It's interesting. I'm going to read some of these because they're just incorrect. This person says it can happen that they lie and don't actually teach their kids, maybe leave them begging to exploit them. So we should just add on, statistically speaking, if you're homeschooled, you read faster, you read better, and you read longer. 44% of public school kids today go to college. 78% of homeschool kids go to college. And I could go on and on and on. That's just a factually incorrect statement. There's this general air that homeschooling means you're not socially apt. You're not prepared for the real world, and you can't go to college, and you don't know anything, when every data point that we have points in amazing amounts to the opposite of that.
Well, all this dialogue is designed to put homeschool families on the defensive when I feel like homeschool families are contributing well to the community.
Right.
Our kids are doing a lot in the community, a lot of service, a lot of involvement, civically, all those types of things. They're just putting us on the defensive when they should really be a little defensive about their own systems. I
mean, we haven't even scratched the surface of the darkness, which we obviously don't want to. But I mean, abuse in the school systems, amount of kids who are passed and their grades are passed, and the parents don't know that they're completely illiterate until 4th, 5th, 6th grade. I mean, Alex Newman talked about that on the podcast. People don't like to say that out loud, but I mean, you can look that up. So.
One girl has sued a school district because she got college scholarships based on her high school grades, and she couldn't read.
Can you believe that? Actually, of course you can. That's what's happening. I think it's important for people to understand, too, this isn't some deep state giant conspiracy. As they've said with any large thing, follow the money. Take 2 seconds, hop online, and just look at college endowment funds, education endowment funds, teachers union rates, and look where all the money goes and exists in public education, and you're going to draw your own conclusions, and you'll see exactly what's happening.
When you look at the statistics of how much time kids are spending with their parents these days, it's like 35 minutes a day.
That's it?
When you remove bathing, making dinner, when you are face-to-face with your kid, bonding, doing an activity where you are interacting, that's an average of 35 minutes a day. The benefit of homeschooling is the opportunities and the freedom that you do have. I didn't have to finish all my classes by a certain period. I had 9 months. If I wanted to get everything done in 2 weeks, I could have. I had so much flexibility to do everything that I was interested in. I took art classes, I did gymnastics, I volunteered, and that was only because I had the time to do it. I was not in school until 3 p.m. I spent so much time with my family. My relationship with my mom is one of the things that I'm most proud of. I inherited a lot of her values because I spent so much quality time with her, that she was the one who raised me, not a teacher. And I think that that is so important.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Zan?
That is a fabulous video, especially on the heels of the other videos that just assume the guilt of the parent. You
Right.
know,
I love that.
and here you have a testimony from a child who, and I don't think this is an unusual testimony either. I think this is a normal way kids are homeschooled. You have a lot of time after the academics are done to spend it in service opportunities and internships and travel and all the art, all the things that you're interested in. I just think this is truly representative of what homeschooling is. And it really is sad how little time parents and their kids have together now. 35 minutes on average.
And I feel like that's probably generous, especially there's a difference between the time you spend with your kids and there's quality time you spend with your kids. Here's an example. I don't know how you and Joe feel about this. Of course, you're a night owl, so this might not resonate with everybody. So, but I'll tell you, with my wife and and I'd love to hear kind of match with you and Joe, but throughout our day, especially if I'm working at home working on a script or whatever, or editing and working with clients, Steph and I will powwow and be like, hey, let's cover A, B, C, and D. And then the day's going, and you make sure you read stories to the kids, you engage with the kids. By the time all of that's done, and it's now 9 o'clock or 9:30, and all of those things you'd mentioned you wanted to accomplish, we don't have any of it. Like, we don't have any of it. Like, I can't. Steph's like, okay, here's the 4 things we said we want to talk about. I just need you to rub my feet and don't talk to me about any of these things, because it's now the end of the day. So, and am I having quality time with my wife in that moment? Sort of. She's very tired and I'm tired. So I feel like the same thing applies to kids, because we have all these things we want to do. And this happens with our kids. Some kids come over after school and play with Grayson, and you can see on their eyes, they're exhausted. You know what I mean? Like, Grayson's been looking forward to some buddy time, and Grayson will even say, oh, is it summer or is it school? And I was like, oh, it's summer. He's like, oh, that's good, because when my friends come over after a full day of school, they're usually really tired and kind of cranky. And which is totally valid, right? I mean, we've asked so much of these kids: sit still, move over here, stand up here, fire drill, go out to recess for 8 minutes. You know what I mean? That when it's like, okay, you can have fun now. It's like, well, you got me up at 7 o'clock this morning, and I'm growing, so I really should have slept until maybe 8. You can just see it. So it's not even necessarily a good quality 35 minutes a day. You know what I mean?
Well, and just like, I mean, I know there are lots of kids and that have lots of time with their parents in
Oh,
all
yeah.
kinds of school settings, but it is troubling that this is an average. Just like was attending a workshop, and a national park ranger said that the average amount of time that a kid spends outdoors, and this was several years ago, is 8 minutes a day now.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so the school day fills up more and more time, and then their extracurricular activities. It's just a time issue. And then you just don't have time, especially during the good part of the day, to be with your kids.
Some comments, this person said, it's done the day I have kids. If things don't change by then, I'll be homeschooling them. This person said, I homeschooled my girls until 11th grade. They took the GED and went to community college. They're socialized, kind, and brilliant. In fact, it's interesting. A lot of these negative comments are I don't want to be overly negative, ill-informed. I mean, they're just assumptions. They're kind of
Right,
just the
that's right.
assumptions that we've been, like you just pointed out, we're conditioned to kind of just believe it. Oh, they must not know anything and be home all the time. And it's usually things like, well, the homeschool kids I know were weirdos. It's like, right, because those ones were strange. You wouldn't know, and there's weirdos in public school anyways. But I think the takeaway is this. I would just like to encourage people, and if this is a real, even if you don't want to homeschool your kids, you don't think you should homeschool, or you think that's weird, I would just encourage you to take inventory. Just take inventory of your life. Sit down. If you're married, sit down with your spouse and really be so intentional. Write out your week, write out your work schedule, write out your wife's work schedule, work together, write out your kids' schedule, and then just use a marker and start highlighting how much quality time you have, A, with your spouse, and then B, with your children. Write it out. Don't assume. Write it down. Zan, the amount of people I know that did land on homeschooling because they did that. They had a moment where they just said, okay, I know I love my wife and I love my kids, and then everything else really is after that. Does my time and workflow and lifestyle reflect what I'm saying is important to me? Because any one of us can say things that sound great, Sam, right? We value family dinner. We value my wife first, then my kids. It's kind of like that famous phrase, like, if you were accused of Christianity, could it be proven? It's very similar.
Would there be enough evidence to convict you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why aren't we homeschooling? Why aren't we organizing? In fact, I said to myself the other day, it is so weird that I grew up totally thinking, and I know you agree with me on this, that people that homeschool their kids are weird. Where did we learn that? Where did we pick up that little cultural factoid? Well, it came down intentionally from us. We're going to denigrate kids that are homeschooled. We're going to make them think that those are the weird kids. Oh, he homeschools. Why do we keep putting our kids back on the bus and then venting about all the awful things they're learning in school when they get home?
Well, she said it out loud, Zan.
Yes, she did. Did we hear the whole clip, Caleb? Was that the whole clip?
That's the whole clip. Yeah,
okay.
It starts right
I
away
wanted to make sure. She's so good. And it's true. I mean, everybody questions us. Why are you homeschooling? I think it's a legitimate question to say, why are your kids in a traditional or institutional or public school? And because we've all got to think through those things.
I think they're scary questions, Ann, and I think it's okay that more people should probably be okay asking scary questions, because it is so easy to sign up with what we think is normal. And by the way, you read the Bible, or if you look at the history of education in our country, which you could check the show notes, watch the Alex Newman one. Him and Zan walk through it. We think it's normal now because we live just right now. You know, if you zoomed out, you'd be like, oh, we invented this in 1850. Like, this is such a new way of doing this anyways, that we have now built what would you call it, Zan? We built a super ecosystem industrial model around education, right? It's definitely no longer just about education or making sure what's best for a child. It's become a megaplex, right? Where everything from school buildings to huge construction companies whose entire business is built on building these facilities and facade. We've built a machine is what we've done. So it is incredibly important to that machine that any outside thinking is not allowed, because then the machine crumbles. This top comment, I agree with you, Candace, 100%. I loved homeschooling and preferred over the insane public school system. Nowadays, it's much better to homeschool. This person didn't like it at all. Hate. Which is what a great argument. I'm homeschooling my two youngest kids. We have homeschooled our kids from the beginning. They're up to date in the world. They're up to date with what's happening in the world and politics. My husband and I discussed homeschooling our kids before we even had any. And then I wanted to address this one before I move on. So some parents can't homeschool because they have to work and the kids have no social skills to get prepared for the outside world. Downfall for public school, because homeschooling is not for everyone. I would say maybe it's not for everybody, but then again, to your point earlier, all of those points you said right in a row are assumptions. It's almost like, Zan, it's part of the plan to have these assumptions baked into us. Oh, I can't afford homeschooling. Okay, well, why? Well, because we had to get 2 jobs. Okay, well, why? Well, we wanted that house. Okay, why did you want that house? Like, why did we want these things? Why did the average American square footage of a house jump from 1,200 square feet several years ago to 2,800 feet now? You know what I mean? Like, why have if anyone just takes a second, just step back and start asking these hard questions. Why? Like, Zan, let me ask you, when you were a kid, like how many families did you know had a huge house with 2 cars?
Not too many. Now, I mean, those were in the early elementary years. And then, of course, after World War II, the whole country began to flourish.
Right.
And I was born way after World War II. Let me just say that.
Oh no. Sam, I can't believe it. It's going to be the best. The point is, we have just now worked ourselves and I don't want to use the word entitlement because that's not fair. People work very hard for what they have, and I would never shoot that down. But have we ever stopped to just take inventory of what we're what are we working towards and why? I'm not against two income households. I think there's a lot of situations where that's important. I think women working is incredible. Like, thank God we live a time where women have that option. You know what I mean? They can apply. They're CEOs, all of that. But I think at some point we do have to take a step back and just ask more questions instead of just doing the thing.
Right.
Why in the world do I make my children do school all year round in our homeschool instead of giving them a big summer break? There is a term that we like to use in the school system as teachers, and that is called the summer slide. And what this means is that the kids leave their previous grade level at the end of the year knowing a whole bunch of stuff, right? They just did a whole year of school. Their test scores might look really good at the end of the year. And then they have this 2 to 3 month summer break where they come back in August and it's like they've forgotten everything. Now, there are some schools that do require some kind of like summer activity pack or something to keep the knowledge going throughout the summer so they're not forgetting everything. But most schools do not, and rightfully so, right? The kids are on break, they shouldn't have to do work. But then us teachers are left with spending the whole first like month of school just reviewing the previous grade level. Whereas if we schooled year round and just gave more frequent breaks throughout, we wouldn't have to waste that entire first month reviewing. We could just be trucking along, moving on to the next grade level, learning new content. What works best for us in our homeschool, we've tried several different schedules, but the 3 weeks on and 1 week off seems to work best for us. And that's also only schooling 4 days a week. So 4 days per week, we take Tuesdays off for our homeschool group, and then only 3 weeks out of the month. So every single month, my kids are getting an entire week off. During like the Christmas holiday season, we usually take 2 weeks off around there. We take another 2 weeks off like during the summer, usually July-ish, but they're not getting these crazy 2 to 3 month breaks. Not only are they not forgetting a whole bunch of stuff like if they had a big summer break, but it's also a nice break for me to have every single month because us homeschooling parents have that same burnout feeling that classroom teachers get, if not worse.
But I love that. I love that idea. What do you think, Zan? That's kind of cool.
Well, I like her plan of 3 weeks on, 1 week off, and 4 days a week. That is great.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
That is really great. I will say this, because I know still a lot of homeschool families. I mean, my grandkids included, that take the summers off, and I do believe there are a lot of things that happen educationally in the summer that can't be written up in a book. Like my grandsons and both of my boys would go to Deerfoot Lodge, which is a Christian wilderness camp. They'd spend 2 weeks there. They learn all, how to, it's like a wilderness camp, but I mean, it's a lot of fun. They do archery, they do horseback. I mean, they fish. They just are outdoors for 2 weeks, and they teach them a lot of outdoor skills. And our kids volunteered in a lot of camps over the summertime. My grandsons, for example, are working with Camp Joy, which they work with children and adults who have handicaps, and so physical or mental. And so, so I think if you decide to take the summer off, and play, just good old fashioned play. The value of play educationally has been documented over and over. David Elkind wrote a book called The Power of Play. Jenny Urich's 1,000 Hours Outside. And so I just think this is a totally personal decision, and it should be what works best for your family. Or if you can manage not having that break in the summertime and you love having the incremental breaks, by all means do it. If you have summer plans of travel and fun and play, by all means do that. I will say this with homeschooling, I never felt like we had to take a month to catch up with where we were. A week, maybe. And I just never felt like we were losing that much. And so to me, that's the only maybe. But I can see in a classroom situation maybe where that happens, but I just never felt that. Maybe some people do, because we did a lot of fun things and a lot of educational things during the summertime, like I say, that weren't necessarily textbook oriented.
Right. And I think some of it's the verbiage we're starting to use, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, we stopped school. It's like, well, that's why even the word homeschool isn't a great word, but it's the best we got. So we, it's like, well, you're usually homeschooling because you're viewing education through a very different lens. So it's like
That's right.
academics are important, but like you said, it's literally equal to everything else you've said: learning personal finance, investment, work ethic, being kind to people, you've done episodes on volunteering and serving people. It's like it's all in this giant pie chart of what we believe is education and really discipleship.
That's right.
Right,
And,
so-
and really, if we believe, I truly believe that the world is our classroom when we
Yeah,
homeschool.
exactly.
And every day is a learning experience. It's just filled with different
Yeah, 100%.
opportunities and adventures. And so
Yes.
if that's the case, I mean, I believe this is one of those things that is totally up to the parent.
Oh, and like you just nailed it, right? It's like, well, okay, maybe academics or maybe these certain workbooks we were going through, like world history or whatever, maybe we pause that for the summer. But my goodness, because of the lifestyle of a homeschool family, being around their family so much, they don't stop learning. Like they're still, like your kids were still with you and Joe, just like they were before. So even though things look maybe a little different, like you said, we took breaks, it probably didn't look nearly as drastically different for a child who goes to a school and sits in a desk for so many days and then suddenly they're home. You know what I mean? Like, so it's so different. One thing I really liked about what she said with the days on, the days off, I feel like just getting into a general flow of retaining information and knowledge and then taking breaks, I think that is such an important thing to hang on to learn to carry on into life. Because now that I'm an adult with a wife and 5 kids and a business, I need that skill so desperately. And I've had to really hone it over the last few years. I'm in my 30s. You know what I mean? So imagine kids in school learning how to do time management. That's like a number one thing almost every homeschool family talks about is a child as they get older gets really good at time management, which is really what you need to function and be healthy. So you don't burn yourself out in a job. So you don't go from, summer vacation to college or summer vacation, and then you get a real job and you don't even know, is this normal? They're asking me to work 60 hours a week, 6 days a week. You know what I mean? Like if you don't learn that early on, it's hard to course correct later in life, like I've had to do. So I love the idea of like you just said, really do what's best for you as a family, because what's best for you is probably going to be different than what might be best for someone else.
Right. That's right.
I don't have your kids. You have your kids.
Yeah, I do. There were so many times I wished I could take one day out of our school week just to do things around the house, run errands, feel caught up a little bit. So I can see just sort of the mental advantage of doing that. Having said that, I think we just really enjoyed our summers, and I just never felt like we didn't really have any problem starting school back.
Amen.
So,
Well, you have been listening or watching to the Zan Tyler podcast, Thriving in Your Homeschool. The music's probably kicking up right around now, letting you know that we're wrapped up. I hope this was awesome. Of course, like we said in the beginning, subscribe, share this with your friends, share it with people, share it with your enemies. Maybe more people. Let's just, Zan, I just hope we're just challenging people to think. That's all. Just ask some hard questions. Take some inventory. Anyways, until next time.
Thank you for being with us, and we will see you next week.